Welcome to The Disruption Is Now. Join us on this enlightening journey as we explore how AI is impacting our jobs, careers, lives, and the human experience. Each episode, host Greg Matusky will converse with visionaries and innovators at the forefront of AI, diving into its challenges, opportunities, and impact. So buckle up as we venture into the heart of disruption, and together, let's unfold the future.
We're back with another episode of The Disruption Is Now, the podcast where we talk about all things AI and communications, commerce, and culture. And we're at the HumanX conference here in Las Vegas. It is the most consequential AI conference in the world. We've had a great day so far. We're at the end of day one, and I was the MC for the financial track. Learned a lot about what financial firms are looking for in AI and how they're deploying it. But I am really excited about our next guest because Joshua Browder is the CEO of DoNotPay. And any company that can say do not pay is my kind of company because I always end up paying. Welcome to being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's not just a company, it's a lifestyle. So I appreciate it.
Tell me about this. Tell us what DoNotPay. It's been a high flying. You've gotten a lot of exposure and press. Tell me what exactly it is because it's an exciting concept. Fraught with peril, we might say. Go ahead.
So DoNotPay is an AI consumer advocate. And what that means is we help consumers using AI fight all the ways they're ripped off in their life from both companies and the government. I started the company almost 10 years ago because I got a bunch of parking tickets. And I've realized that there are so many ways you can save money if you just know what to say.
So this started not as an AI play, right? You had just created templates that consumers could use to fight parking tickets and the like.
That's exactly right. And I'll use the excuse that the Americans drive on the other side of the road, but I was a terrible driver. And so I had to do a lot of research to figure out the top ways you can get out of tickets. And the way the initial version worked was the software would take down a few details, generate a letter, and send it off to the city. And I didn't really expect anyone to use it, but one of my friends was a blogger, and she wrote a blog post about it, and it just went globally viral. And that's what made me realize that the idea of helping people fight for these things is bigger than just tickets.
Well, let's walk me through it now. So you started with templated letter writing and templated forms. And then when did you make the leap to AI? When did you see that?
Everything really changed when the AI APIs came out in 2021 and 2022, really the early versions of GPT. So everyone thinks ChatGPT was when GPT launched, but there were actually earlier versions. And our very first AI product was we built AI to cancel subscriptions. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why do you need an AI to cancel a subscription? But we live in such a broken country here in America that these large companies make you jump through so many hoops, chat with agents, send off letters, and that's actually a good job for AI. So the AI would actually log into someone's magazine account and start chatting, and it would be very forceful. The agent would say, the human agent would say, are you sure you don't want to stay and take up all this time? But the AI would be very forceful and make sure you get that cancellation.
So talk about your penetration into the market now. How have you grown over the past, since the introduction of GPTs or chat before ChatGPT 3.5?
So really it's been a 10x growth. So we're now processing millions of cases. And I think everything really changed with GPT-4. Before that, maybe it was good at AI was good at jumping through a hoop, but now it's really good at negotiating. So for example, we have our AI robots, they log into someone's Comcast account and they start chatting with the Comcast agent to lower someone's bill. And what's interesting is these big companies are using AI. Sometimes, when you're chatting with an online chat, it's actually an AI talking to you, and we're using AI. And so it's actually an AI versus AI warfare. And we like to think our AI bots are more motivated. So
it's an arms race.
It is an arms race. And I think that's the way it's going. Someone has to represent the consumer and give power to the people.
Now, are these big companies learning from that? Are they upgrading their chatbots to contend with your chatbots, or have they caught on yet?
So we take a very humble approach. Although we're processing millions of cases, there are so many companies out there and so many problems, and so it's just a drop in the bucket. So what we're seeing is that the consumers that are using our AI tools are really ahead of like 99% of the consumers. So there's not yet been a response, but there is all sorts of things they're doing to push back.
So walk me through, as a consumer, how do I use DoNotPay? How do I get involved?
So there's two ways to use DoNotPay. You can come to DoNotPay and say, I have a problem. Like the in-flight Wi-Fi didn't work, which it never does, and I want a refund. That's one way to use it. And then the other way is you can actually, if you feel comfortable, connect your bank statements or connect various different data sources, and the AI will actually find you ways that you're being ripped off. So for example, you can put in your zip code, and every time there's an outage, it will actually log in, make the claim to get you an outage refund. And that's just one example where we're trying to build this product where you wake up and it feels like someone is finally in your corner fighting back.
And do I pay a subscription price for this?
It's a membership. It's $18 a month.
$18 a month. And do people go on and just load up on all their issues and then walk away? What's the retention rate like on that?
So we have over 200,000 subscribers, and we've really tried to turn it into something that it's almost insurance against being ripped off. And maybe people come to our service because they have a pressing problem, but then the design really shows people all the ways that they can save money and time.
So this is all through a chat. This is all through not voice, but this is all through.
That it's all through a chat with the consumer, but what's interesting is on the back end, we are actually using some voice robots to get things done. And AI has now got fast enough that it can handle phone conversations. And so we are actually doing some of our disputes via the phone.
And how's that working? Has there been many glitches? Has that been hard to figure out?
Well, we're seeing all sorts of unique problems that wouldn't exist if AI wasn't on the phone. So one example was we had our AI try and cancel someone's phone contract, and it called up this big company, and we tell our AI never to lie because we want to minimize liability, and it's really important. So the agent, the human agent on the other end said, hello, how can I help you? And our AI said, I'm the assistant. It didn't say AI assistant. It just said AI assistant of this consumer, and I want to cancel the cell phone contract. And the human agent on the other end said, okay, but what's your name? And this really confused the AI because it didn't want to lie, and it doesn't have a name because it's not a human. And the AI was really frustrated, so it said, no, I'm just the assistant. And the human agent said, no, I understand you're the assistant, but what's your name? And this went back and forth 3 or 4 times. And finally, the AI solved the problem. It said, you can call me Alex. So it wasn't lying. It didn't give itself a name, but it said, you can call me Alex. And that's how it solves these issues.
So is that what's going to come to, just AI agents talking to AI agents on the other side? You think the human element could be taken totally out?
I think so, and I think it comes down to cost. One interesting thing is over the past year, the cost to run the same quality of AI model has decreased by, no exaggeration, 200x. So the leading GPT-4 model a year ago cost X. The model today costs maybe like an 80% discount to that. And then with DeepSeek, that's another 18x discount.
And are you using DeepSeek?
We are. And the reason we're using it is because you can actually host it yourself. So there are no privacy concerns because you're actually it's an open source model, so you can host it on your own server.
How did you make that jump so quickly? I mean, this was announced, 4 weeks ago? DeepSeek?
Maybe like a month or a month and a half. Well, the key is in the name, DoNotPay. We're actually fortunate to be very profitable. We have this large subscription base, and we really care about making it as cheap as possible. And that came out, and it really changed everything for us.
Now, what are the legal ramifications of this? How do you balance those?
So when we started, and most of our stuff, there's not a lawyer who will ever get out of bed to help someone with a $100 cable refund. And so I think the legal community really see this as improving access to justice in an underserved area. At the same time, though, when we've tried to be more ambitious and do things in the courtroom or things like that, there have definitely been some angry lawyers that have pushed back.
Now, let me ask you from my point of view, right?
Yeah.
I have to negotiate contracts all the time. Could your technology help me?
I think it's really important to stay focused as a company and with your identity. Do you want to be a consumer company or an enterprise company? Maybe one day.
And how much tuning does it take to train your model in the human negotiation process?
Um, a lot of tuning, and especially related to the cost reductions, we can now afford to do much more tuning. So the way these AI models are priced is there's two ways they're priced. They're priced on the output, which we don't really mind because we're not generating that much text, and they're priced on the input. So how much you're actually feeding into the AI initially, and that's what we care about. And so when you've had this huge cost reduction, that's allowed us to feed in much more. So for example, for a utility bill dispute, we can feed in like your entire 3-year customer history to make the negotiation successful.
And I guess the data you get back, you get to see companies' willingness to make concessions and stuff. And I guess, do you feed that into the model and tune it so it knows when it's pushed the hardest it can absolutely push? Or
Yes, and it's very successful because it's a well-known secret. If you phone up a company or message a company and say, I'm not happy, I'm thinking of canceling, they have rules on their end that of course they're going to give you some sort of discount, and it's just the AI jumping through that hoop.
so what do you think the average savings for a consumer could be in using your technology?
It's about $550 a year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is there any application I could use with my children? Because they, they look at me as a walking wallet, and I always have to negotiate. But I'm just joking with you. But
I'll send you a free membership.
okay, that sounds. I'll take you up on it.
Yeah.
So where do you see it going? What's the big grand plan for DoNotPay?
What we're really working hard on at the moment is medical bills. Consumers, unfortunately, are being taken advantage of by private equity firm hospitals and insurers. And instead of AI helping someone with a $100 parking ticket, it would be great if it could help them with a $50,000 medical bill. And there's actually a new law that passed a few years ago called the No Surprises Act that allows people to challenge their medical bills. And you have that plus the improvements in technology, and I think it's the perfect time to do that.
That would really launch into another universe with regard to the amount of the disputes that you're dealing with. Could be a huge solution for some of these runaway costs too with healthcare.
Yeah, and my advice to anyone is if you get an expensive medical bill, even challenging it probably gets you 20% off before you even get to the AI. So, yeah.
Well, I got a broader question, and then we'll wrap it up. But you're doing this with negotiations. Will there come a time where everything is just AI to AI? Like a lot of what I do has to be outreach on the phone or outreach via email. Is there a time where I will send an email and the receiver will just send the receiver will send an email, and that will be the discourse?
A lot of investors ask me, what if the world gets so efficient there's no more problems to solve? And I like to think of my company as an ETF on the world's problems. The more problems there are to solve, the more work we have to do. And I think that these big companies really have an incentive to make it as hard as possible to dispute things and things like that. So I will always think there's a job for software. Comcast, I don't want to pick on Comcast. A cable company will never make an AI to cancel their own subscription. They're always going to make you jump through the hoops.
What's the biggest surprise you've seen in this whole journey of yours with regard to maybe the consumer side or the enterprise side in dealing with these disputes?
So we have over 100 different features, and everyone always asks me, what's my favorite DoNotPay feature? And it has to be getting money from robocalls, so spam calls. And we have a user who's made tens of thousands of dollars getting compensation every time they get a spam call. And that's really empowering for me.
I got to get that software. I'm inundated with it. Joshua, best of luck. What you're doing is amazing, not just as far as AI, but how it's empowering consumers. It's really one of the few times I've seen AI on the consumer side, allowing them to optimize their spending and their accrued debts and things like that. So congratulations. Great segment. What are you hoping to get out of the show today?
I think new customers, sign up at DoNotPay.com. If you want a free subscription, happy to make that happen. You can also email me.
That's terrific. Joshua, thanks for being with us. It was fascinating. I'm so glad we caught up at the show and got you in here to talk a little bit on the disruption is now. Best of luck, and you are going to send me that free subscription, right?
Definitely.
All right. And we're back with our second podcast. The disruption is now from the floor of HumanX. What a show. I think it's the most consequential AI show in the universe right now. And it's amazing the people you run into and the secrets you get to break. I'm joined with Jason Johnson, who was the founder of August, which was a great home automation play, did very well. And he's joined us here because he says he's got a company that's coming out of stealth that he can't give us too many details, but I'm going to continue to pry him to see what's going on, that uses AI somewhere in the sustainability and security area for home automation. Did I get that right, Jason?
You hit the buzzwords there, right? Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about this. Tell me a little bit about your journey first with August. I see you're a Hall of Famer from CES, which I got to give you some genuflection for that.
Thank you. It was fun to get that award. So, yeah, I'm a smart home guy. I started August actually at the end of 2012, and I sold it in 2018 to the world's largest lock company, and took a couple years off to spend time with my family and think about like what could we do better in the
Enjoy the wines in Napa.
I do. I'm enjoying Napa. It's only an hour north of San Francisco, so I can still pop down and see what's going on. And a couple of years taking time off, thinking about how could we do smart home better? How could we make better products that are more integrated into the home, more reliable, more magical?
And they have an AI play. Let's go into that. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so the way we look at AI for the home is as we add more and more sensors to the home, more and more devices that are managing our access as we do with the August locks, our cameras, our other sensors throughout the home that are managing and looking at temperature and movement. We can start to understand the patterns, the activity of the home, and the way we look at it is three different categories. There's safety and security, right? How do you secure a home better than the traditional methods? We can dive into that. Number two is environmental variables. How can we save energy? Right? Let's not heat or light rooms that aren't being used. And then the third category is the fun. It's like the entertainment. What can you do that kind of just makes life easier, more enjoyable, more entertaining using technology in the home? And AI helps us do all of that.
So help me understand. You did this once from an entrepreneurial perspective with August, and I guess that was fun to a certain point. Maybe not. Maybe it was fun the whole run. So when you start again, is the same energy, excitement? I mean, how do you resuscitate that or reinvigorate it?
I had a bunch of friends I talked to about this that have also built and sold companies, and what I learned was if you do it again, you have to have some core principles, right? And if you really believe in those core principles and you hold to them, then you'll enjoy the ride all over again. Whereas previously it's just it's just survive, right? Just to try to get it
run like hell,
an exit. But this time we have some core principles, and like a couple of them I can share is one, everything we make has to be the best in its category. Like we intend to be the best at what we do with each product we make, and no exceptions, right? And so that may mean it's not the cheapest. It may not, come out tomorrow. It might take a little longer to put out there. But one core principle is we just don't compromise on what we're making.
And how does that compare when you were starting August, when you were running like hell, and it was just a different game?
Yeah, I mean, certainly with the August lock, we're trying to create a whole new category, right? Smart locks didn't exist, and so we're just hoping people would want them, right? They'd want to control access to the home using their phone, and so we put it out there as best we could and hope people would want it, and then you kind of just wait and see. Do people bite? Are they excited about that?
So jump back. You said there were 4 core principles, and I interrupted you. So we talked about best of class of every product you create. What were the other 3?
Yeah, so I can share a couple of them. So another one, as much as I love like smart locks that have batteries and video doorbells you got to bring in and plug in and charge, or other devices maybe you plug into outlets in your home. One of the challenges with all of those is batteries eventually die. Right, something can be unplugged accidentally by somebody, and then they just become less reliable and less useful. And so one of our core principles is that everything we make is powered. It actually has power to it. We're never at risk of something being unplugged or the batteries dying or somebody failing to charge something. And so we don't compromise on that.
So how is it always powered then if it's not plugged in or there's not
Yeah. I mean, I can't go too much into the details of how we're doing all of that.
That's
Yeah,
the secret.
yeah. That's kind of we haven't announced what products
You
we're
have
making
mini
yet.
fusion.
Cold fusion would be great. I would love that. That would be very helpful. So we're taking some approaches to make these smart home products more part of the infrastructure of the home, much like the other infrastructure you have, like your electrical systems, your plumbing systems, right? More fabric of the home, so it's a more permanent installation.
Let's come back to that. So there were two more. I want to hear your core values of the second go around as a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. Okay. So another one is a lot of startups, and I've done a few actually. August wasn't my first. So a lot of startups, you hope to find a business model that works eventually. You hope to scale to a level or whatnot. One of our principles is that we know exactly our business what it is, our business model, and we know exactly what it takes to become a profitable, sustainable company that lasts. And so. I mentioned that our products are not inexpensive that we're making. They're premium products, and they're priced that way. They're priced because we have to make money selling them, right? So it's not
good point.
It's
That's
let's make up as much as we lose on volume, right? Which is a constant, a joke in the industry, right? Right. So we're making things that we make good money on. In fact, the things we're making, we should be able to make more money on our hardware than perhaps any other smart company's ever made, and that's by just thinking about that from the beginning as part of the design process.
So number 4, what's that?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you have to have fun what you're doing. And at this stage in my career, I'm only going to work with people that I think are the best of the best and people I enjoy working with. And so almost all the employees at Doma are former August employees. There's a few exceptions, but most are formerly people I've worked with, or the other people that have joined are actually people I knew before and I've wanted to work with for years, and somehow I talked them into joining. And so everybody on the team is like, it's like a dream team of the best people that I really enjoy seeing every day and I want to spend time with because they're some of the smartest and some of my favorite people. And that makes starting something, like whether it's successful or not, doesn't matter. We're having a lot of fun working together along the way.
So help me out, go back. You had said it really is a system within the home, unlike smart homes have been done before, like your electrical or your plumbing or whatever. Explain that to me.
Yeah, so these devices, and I made some of these devices, right? They're often designed to be these aftermarket objects that you stick on the wall, or you stick on your door, or next to your door, and they're, to be quite honest, they're made as inexpensive as possible, right? They're largely plastic, maybe some little pieces of metal, but they're made to be almost disposable. These products,
right.
And well, there's an environmental concern there when you make products that are designed to be, disposed of.
Right.
But number 2, just the quality, right? I think we need to think about making things that last longer. And it's interesting because there's some controversy right now with the current administration in Washington, perhaps raising some significant tariffs on products purchased from China. And one of the comments that came from the Treasury Secretary the other day was, so maybe our iPhones will cost $9,000, which is hopefully not going to happen. But the point being made there is if you want something really high quality, you might have to pay more for it, and hopefully we'll treat them as something that we're going to have for a long time. And I certainly appreciate the principle there of trying to be less wasteful and design things that are made to last.
Right. That's such an issue. I mean, you go to a big box and you buy these products all with an expiration date. I mean, it's crazy. I bought a sound bar for my television and it was good for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then what the hell do you do with a subwoofer? Or what do you do with the bar itself? It just It really, in a way, it shows you that you got to put the money up front to get the quality that you really want. So who's your market? Tell me a little bit about that. Are you working with designers, architects, builders, and homeowners, or are you going right after the homeowner? Really discriminating buyers?
Yeah, the products we're making are they're both for new construction homes as well as existing homes. Some of our investors are some of the biggest home builders in America, so we're certainly looking at that market and prioritizing that market.
So is that a new market for you? Was it easy to connect with those home builders and past relationships, or this is a new front that you've opened?
This is a new front for me. So with the August products, we were in all the Apple stores in North America. We were in all the Best Buy stores and many other retailers. These products are not going to be at retail. You're not going to find them at those stores. They're going to go through other channels, other industry
System
channels.
integrators, things like that.
Yeah, and that's it's going to be a little more difficult to get, perhaps, or a little more difficult to install, but the experience will be worth a little more effort and a little more cost it takes to get these products.
Well, I'll be interested to watch it closely and see where it comes out. Jason, it was really interesting. I thank you for breaking this news here on The Disruption Is Now. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. It's my
pleasure.
pleasure.
You've done it before. I'm sure you'll do it again. And we'll be watching you and see how AI can make for a more sustainable, secure, and livable home. That's for sure.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. So we're here at HumanX. This is our third podcast of the day. And I'm excited because my guest, we had an opportunity to be together this morning as I emceed the financial track of HumanX. Gabriel Banks is the CEO of Quill AI. And smart guy, comes out of Harvey Mudd University for one semester. That's how you know he's smart. He left after one semester to found Quill AI with his partner. And really, it's a company that's helping hedge funds become more productive in how they evaluate opportunities. Am I on the right track there? Is that what you're doing?
So that's right, yeah. So about a year ago, we met with a guy who had 20 to 30 years of experience in finance, and he was on sabbatical, and he told us what his insight into AI and finance was, and that was about 70% in traditional finance at a hedge fund of the work that an analyst does is what he called Excel monkey work.
Absolutely.
And what we aim to do is essentially automate as much of that as we can with AI, such that the remaining 30% of the work that is the valuable alpha generation, making investment decisions work, they have more time for that.
And think of how far generative AI has come for us. When it was introduced, it couldn't extract information from an Excel spreadsheet. It was. I remember I gave a seminar for financial analysts, and that was the number one question they had. This was probably, I'd say, April 2023, is how can I use it to extract and build formulas and to reconstruct assumptions in a spreadsheet? And I was like, not there yet. But I did say it'll get there. So it is there. And for analysts, that allows them really to focus on what? If that grunt work is being done by your applications, where are they going to put their time?
Well, that leaves them more time to read the filings, read research reports, talk to other people in the industry or the management of the company, things like that are actually generating insight as opposed to copying, pasting numbers into Excel.
And I talked to some people today, and they're a little bit hesitant because about AI. A couple consulting firms that just haven't seen the traction. One of the things they keep coming back at me, because I'm in public relations, where you don't have to be precise. 10 people can create 10 different documents. They all have value, and they're all done differently. But in finance, in healthcare, in high-risk, high-compliant businesses, you have to be exact. So what is it that you're doing to assure that your models can be accurate as well as faster?
Well, so that's a great question, and that's definitely a concern we see with every single customer that we have. And what we've done is, because Excel models, the nature of them is that they're numbers, right? And they're either correct or they're incorrect. We have several different metrics like sanity checks to see if the number that we've come up with is correct or not. And if there's any sort of doubt in terms of that the number we've come up with is incorrect, we flag it for them. And we leave that to the user for manual review. And every number, whether or not we flag it, you can easily see exactly where in the source document it came from. And it's you click a link, it opens a web page, opens the document, scrolls, highlights exact number. And that's kind of the attitude we've taken, is that you can trust us, but you can also verify us. You can verify every single piece of information that we give you.
So you have the citation.
Yes.
Does it also have a loop of its own to assure its accuracy, or is it all done through citations?
Yes. So there's the citations, which is like obviously human review. And then there is we have several checks. So for example, if you're updating revenue, right? And then we noticed that the number we came up with, well, actually the line item name was whatever, gross profit. since those two names are very different, we'll flag it for you. Things like that. If suddenly a number jumped up 10x in a quarter, we'll flag that. We'll be like, this is our guess, but we don't think it's right. Things of that nature.
So let's go through. I'm a big follower of Ethan Mollick. I don't know if you follow him. He's a professor at Penn, and he has a term. It's called the jagged edge. That's what AI does well. That's what it doesn't do well, right? And if we look at a hedge fund that's looking to acquire or invest in companies, there's things that I would imagine it does very well, and there's things that don't do well. And, let's talk about that. What do you think it does well? What do you think it doesn't do well?
Okay, what it does well, extracting specific information. What was revenue in quarter 2 of 2022? Great at that. Finding sentences or excerpts that are relevant to what an investor is looking for. What did Apple say about their cloud revenue? Very good at that. What it's less good at is making kind of judgments on the tone of the document. So, for example, if in an earnings call, what a lot of investors pay attention to is how they're talking about their projections of future revenue. Do they sound confident? Do they sound unconfident? Even the tone of their voice, which is, LLM. It's just a transcript can't capture the tone of a voice, right? So that is definitely much worse at, and I expect it to remain not super good at that for at least the foreseeable future.
And how much information are they ingesting, these analysts, to make those decisions? I imagine it's coming from earnings releases.
Earnings releases. Every quarter, company will release a news report with a bunch of financial tables in it, a 10Q filing, with a bunch of tables and risk disclosures in it, and then they'll also do an earnings call where they call and the management of the company talks and fields questions from analysts, and they also will sometimes just do like a presentation with like a slideshow tangential to the earnings call.
So right now you're focused on hedge funds, but there's a whole other realm of financial analysts and portfolios, wealth management. Have you looked at that as a possible market?
Yes. I mean, so when we first started out in this, we didn't initially set our sights on hedge funds. We kind of ended up at hedge funds because we had talked to a bunch of investment banks, private equity firms. And we basically ended up on hedge funds because they have the shortest sales cycles. Investment banks have a ton of compliance and a ton of, technical, cybersecurity, legal checks. Whereas, big hedge funds have that too, but smaller hedge funds, teams of 10, 20, 30, it's usually just one or two people making the decisions. So
let's talk a little bit about the analysts and their lifestyle. A lot of the people who you call them Excel monkeys, I call them Excel jockeys, would be a little bit more sensitive. A lot of them are young people, right? They're out of extraordinary schools, Wharton, Harvard B School, and whatever. And that first 5 years, it's a lot of grunt work.
Yeah, it's a lot of wasted intelligence.
It's a lot of wasted intelligence. And, at the same time, you have to retain these people. Many of them leave because they don't want to work till midnight every day of the week. What about that portion of the value of something like you're bringing to the table? The lifestyle, the improvement of individuals' work climate.
That is kind of our big value prop, especially when we're showing this tool to the analysts whose time we would be saving. And they love it for that. Obviously, we have to be solving the problem that's causing them to stay late. Because, there's a variety of different things. Sometimes it's PowerPoints, which we have nothing to do with. But, if they can see that, I'm spending every quarter, 4 times a year, every quarter, I'm staying till office till 12 a.m. every time a company I'm tracking releases new earnings, they can see that we'll save them 3 to 4 hours every time.
Well, it's very much an interesting area. As I shared with you before we went on air, one of the first questions I was ever asked in generative AI is, can it extract, this was in 2023, can it extract information from spreadsheets and do the manipulation, the formulas, and I'm not a spreadsheet jockey. And at that point I had to say, no, it couldn't do that. But today it can, and it's a remarkable advance. As remarkable as the killer app that Excel was when Mr. Gates introduced it.
I sure hope it is.
Well, best of luck. We'll be
Thank
following
you.
you carefully and closely, and hope to see you again next year at HumanX.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks, Gabriel.
Thank you.
Well, we're back with another episode of The Disruption is Now. The podcast looks to investigate all things AI and how it impacts our culture, our commerce, and our communications. And I'm here with Stephen Sikes. He is the COO of Public, which is a new trading platform, from what I understand, for people who wanted to gain the type of insight once reserved for institutions. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're an investing platform focused on serving retail investors, helping them be better investors. And again, I think as we think about where we fit in what is, sometimes a crowded market of competitors,
It is crowded.
we want to be, we want to stand for people that take it seriously, right? They want to do a good job with their money. They want to invest according to their values and ultimately where they think they're going to make the most money. And I think we have differentiated ourselves by both the breadth of the platform, right? So thinking about the asset classes that we offer
It
customers.
goes through that real
So
fast.
yeah, exactly. So it's not just trading, right? Of
Right.
course, we are a platform where you can, trade things, options, crypto, stocks, et cetera. But we also complement that with, managed products primarily focused on fixed income. So we have a full suite of corporate bonds and treasuries, and we allow people to invest in those,
Now
in a modern
that is
interface.
unusual, isn't it, for
Sure.
a retail investor to be able to be in on the bond trading?
Totally. I think as we sort of looked at, the environment we were in a few years ago as rates were rising, and for the first time in, my adult life, bond yields were interesting, starting in 2022 and 2023, we saw that demand coming from our customers. And they were like, hey, you mean I can go and invest in sort of mid-duration, 3 to 5 year duration investment grade bonds, and those are going to yield 6 or 7%? Like, that's quite a healthy yield on
Traditionally,
something.
yeah.
Totally. And again, I think, we have a generation of investors, and I think, in the sort of modern portfolio theory, folks have been sort of taught to expect 6, 7, 8% annualized returns in an equity portfolio. So if you can get something approximating that with a lower risk bond portfolio, we saw a lot of demand. And again, treasury rates, same deal, right? We saw treasury rates in the 5s and, now in the 4s. Like, those are incredibly attractive rates on a tax advantage basis. And so we invested a lot of time in building out, the best-in-class fixed income product. And I think, again, as we think about people that take investing seriously, they recognize the value of fixed income and the opportunities there. And
Especially in a week like today, this week.
Yeah, exactly. A week like today, exactly.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
that's how I felt
been
yesterday.
brutal.
It was been a challenging couple of days, a challenging few weeks for the markets. We're seeing a return to volatility, which does drive more interest in sort of more secure assets, but also people are buying this dip still, right? We're still a couple of weeks into this sell-off, and I think we're still in that place where retail investors still have a lot of heart, and you see something sell off, and that's going to drive a lot of buying behavior.
Well, help me out now. We're here at HumanX with all
Sure.
things AI. So your Alpha platform,
Sure.
how does that use AI to your customers' advantage?
Yeah, so one of the things we've seen over the years, right, we spend a lot of time with our customers and understanding how they use the platform. What we see is most people, they might own 10, 15, 20 different companies, stocks, bonds, et cetera, and they follow that portfolio, right? What they're going to do on a daily basis, and again, we see the vast majority of our customers show up on a daily basis. What they're going to do is they're going to check their portfolio. They're going to say, okay, portfolio level, how much money did I make or lose today, right? Am I up or down? Then they're going to go a level deeper, and they're going to scroll, and they're going to see at each individual position, was I up or down, right? Very classic user interface for these sorts of platforms. But then the third question is they're going to see, okay, say I was invested in Tesla yesterday. Tesla was down 15 or 16, 20% at some points yesterday.
I hear you.
They're going to have the question, it's going to occur to them, why, right? That's the next question they ask. So they say, overall portfolio, how's it going today? What positions are up or down? The third question is the most important, which is why? What do I need to know about what the market is saying about my position? Do I need to change my decision making? Do I need to take any action? And that's the place where AI has been the most helpful, right? Is explaining in a quick way, why is it moving, right? And so
How's it doing that? Is it just doing it off its
Sure.
training base with the LLM, or is it ingesting more information on a daily basis? And where's that data coming
So
from?
it's exactly the second, right? We are taking sort of a broad look at all of the available market information that we have access to. Analyst reports, earnings reports, news reports, stock price moves, new alternative data releases, all of the things that might contribute to a stock's performance. we're going to aggregate, we're going to give that data via like, sort of an orchestration layer to a foundational model, and we're going to sort of summarize and weight sort of all of the available information to give our customers sort of a 1-paragraph explanation of what's going on, right? And I think that's the beauty of it. And I think so we've built that both into
the beauty of generative AI, right?
Totally.
Language based.
Again, there are plenty of places where AI is not the perfect tool, but
right.
It's the perfect tool for helping retail investors synthesize and summarize all of the information about the position, their specific positions within their portfolio. And it's super powerful. And so what we've done is we've both integrated that first within sort of the core public app, but a couple months ago, we released sort of that capability into a standalone alpha app, which is its own sort of watch list app, right? So you don't have to use public, the brokerage. You can actually just get alpha, the watch list. And so what we like to say is if you use the stocks app on, iOS on your Apple phone, you should just use alpha instead, because it's basically the stocks watch list plus all of this generative AI driven explanation of what's going on within your watch list.
So what's your sweet spot as far as the profile of your user, the investor?
Yeah, so I think what we like to say is, we don't always serve sort of sophisticated traders or sophisticated investors, right? They're not professionals, right? But they're sophisticated people, right? We serve professionals. They're not professional investors, they're professionals, right? And so I think we'd absolutely serve a class of people that fit sort of they're smart, they're educated, they care, they want to learn about what's going on in the market, and they're capable of learning and understanding and making good decisions. And so that's our customer. And typically we're an online platform, right? We have, we started as mobile first, mobile only. We have a great web and desktop experience now. So we definitely serve people that are focused on sort of the digitally native, the digital first experience, right? We don't have branches, right? We don't have physical locations. That's not who we're serving. We're serving people that want to work, and do their work.
And typically, what do they have AUM themselves that they're managing?
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the map, right? We have 8-figure accounts down to people who are just getting started with, with a few $1,000, right? So it's the full spectrum of folks, across the universe.
So why this and not others?
What do you mean?
Why this and not Robinhood or any of the others?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, again, it goes back to the sort of two things we've talked about so far. I think the places where we've really differentiated, one are the breadth of the asset classes that we offer. And so for people that really want to construct a great portfolio and want to take advantage of opportunities in the market, like you have to have access to equities, options, crypto, and fixed income. And that fourth one, fixed income, we're pretty much the only game in town for people that want to work like we do.
And how are investors finding out about you?
All of the ways, doing stuff like this, right?
Having
conversations, getting the word out. I think we do quite a lot of marketing. You'll see our TV ads. You'll see us working with content creators. You'll see us, we have a phenomenal search optimization business, right? So if you search Tesla stock or buy Tesla stock, you're going to see a public link pretty close to the top of.
How did you come up with the URL? How did you get the URL public? I got to know.
So this predated my time, but it was, I think we knew as we started the company that in a space like the investment platform space, it's founded like, again, the fundamental function of what we do every day is we ask people to give us their money, right, as a platform, and then they get to invest it, right? There's a deep amount of trust that people have to have in the platform to be able to put their hard-earned money there. And so we recognized early on that we needed a brand that stood for trust and credibility. And so having, sort of a great one-word URL like that was going to be critical to both building that brand and building that awareness. We have, one of our co-founders had some good relationships with folks in the in the domain space, and we had the opportunity to grab public.
That's amazing.
Decided it was the right fit.
Now you have a very diverse investor base. It's everyone from Tony Hawk to major VC firms, as well as the chain smokers, Manus VC. So what is that life like?
It's fun, right? We like, again, it goes back to the conversation we had earlier. I was just saying about the importance of brand and trust and credibility, and working with, industry leaders from the entertainment industry and sports has been a way that we've been able to sort of build that trust and get to know people and build, again, awareness. As a young company, we're always looking for ways to get the word out about the awesome products we've built. And so having partners who are and investors who are public personalities is always helpful. And yeah, it's cool as being on the management team to be able to spend time with really interesting people like that, because I think, we think about folks like that as being celebrities.
What are the chain smokers like?
Honestly, they're incredibly sharp business people. And
so that's
we'll
just
sit and we'll nerd out. They'll ask us and they'll nerd out about our industry and what are we doing in sort of the investing space and how do we think about the business mechanics of it? Where do we see the strategic opportunities? Like we could sit there and talk for half an hour and they'll just ask questions. But we do the same for them, right? We turn around and we're like, hey, tell us about the music industry. Tell us about entertainment. Like, where are you going? And it's cool to be able to again, people think about them as being celebrities, but
right.
They're phenomenal business people and they're really switched on thinking about their own industry. And we love to learn from them because there's always interesting angles.
What came to them, music or business? I mean, did they study business? Did they?
It's a good question. I'm not sure about the formal business education, but they've certainly had a great business education via the breadth of companies they've invested in and their own curiosity, right? That's what drives it. Again, I remember the first time I met them, I was very, very surprised by the depth of curiosity that they had about our business, which was
well, that's the story of Joey Ramone. He got done as one of the Ramones, and he became an investor, and he would often appear on CNBC. You probably don't remember that, which was a real head turner when you'd see Joey on there talking about it. He actually wrote a song about Maria Bartoloma. About his investing. But Stephen, I'd like to thank you for your time today. It was really insightful.
Of course. This was a pleasure.
You guys are really taking off, and we're going to watch your growth and success.
For sure.
And it's interesting what you're doing with AI as far as making information more available to sophisticated investors in real time. So that's a real good application of AI here at HumanX, and we'll be up in a little bit with another episode.
This podcast is a production of Gregory FCA. If you enjoyed our discussion today and want to continue exploring the transformative power of AI, please check out more episodes and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.